21 people have come to paradise looking for love. And everyone here is a virgin.
I want to have sex. Sign me up.
I think one of the most important things when I signed on to be the host here was to be more than that. I wanted to let the cast know that I've been in their shoes before, and I've been through, what they've been through, specifically with their virginity as well. So I wanted to make sure that they knew that I was available 24/7. And I truly meant that. The production team knew that they could pull me out of bed in the middle of the night if somebody was having anxiety or wanted to talk through something, I'd be available. So, watching Caitlin have that role as well, and we both, that's something we agreed on from the very beginning, is like, we want to really, really help these people. And just to see the trust that Rachel had, and honestly, just the vulnerability between, her and Caitlin and that conversation. I know I've already seen on social media people with vaginismus already being like, this is incredible to see on television, this conversation. Also, the reason why Caitlin is such a great, co-host for me is I'm not qualified to talk about vaginismus in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So it's great that, she was there to be able to do that. There was quite a few contestants that I sort of saw myself in, and not in a way that saying like they're exploring their sexuality, just in the fact that they came into the show with an idea of why they're virgins, but they left with a whole new understanding. And that was sort of how my journey's been too. And, maybe there is sexually fluid, cast mates on here, but that's their own journey, and they're on their own timeline. And that's the beautiful thing about, coming out, is I can, only help and share my story as publicly as I can to maybe encourage or support, and however, I can do that. That's like picking a favorite child at this point. I think I really am proud of Rachel. I think, she from day one came in to this and really leaned in. And I think she knew what she was coming for. She stayed strong in pursuing it. And I think that's the hardest part in dating shows too, is you sort of get distracted by all the eye candy and like these feelings of permission, of exploring different relationships. She came in, honed on what she wanted, and went for it. And I thought that was so cool to see. So I'm really proud of her. And look, I'm proud of the entire cast. This is a hard, show, especially with the first season. I mean, they had no clue what they were signing up for. They really had to put a lot of trust in Caitlin and I to help them and tell their stories in an authentic way. And, I think we did that. Yeah, I mean, all of them. I'm not gonna call anybody out. I think you see in real time different levels of maturity. I was definitely not the most emotionally mature or seasoned dater when I went on The Bachelorette, and I definitely have fallen short through of people's expectations in my career and, in front of the world. And I think a few of them did here too. And I think that it's also an opportunity for them to sort of watch themselves back and be like, ooh, I could handle this a lot better. I had a lot of those moments, and I'm sure a lot of them are having that right now too. So, you try your best, you do your best, and hopefully everybody learned and, grew a little on this show. No, absolutely not. The most beautiful thing about this show was, the safety that the cast felt together. Like, nobody had to be performative. That was sort of the word that I would use to describe myself in a locker room, is I had to be somebody I wasn't because I wanted to fit in. I didn't want to stand out. And like that's just also an athlete's mentality, is you're part of a team. You don't want to be that one person sticking out in any type of way. So that was sort of how I was always just performative in that. And I think having a show like this where they all have a common ground and a starting point really protected them, to make them feel safe, to give them permission to lean in, to really explore and, set them up for success. I was really scared to reveal that I was a virgin, especially on national television, and I didn't really want that to be my storyline. Obviously, my journey with my virginity was tied into my sexuality, tied into my faith, tied into sports and all sorts of different layers there. It was something I had witnessed even prior to having that conversation with Becca with other women, that you sort of see the wheels start turning of, this is a lot for me to take on. Or they would ask questions of, how do you know you're ready for this? Or, you start seeing people somewhat try to disqualify you from a relationship. And I think that was what I was sort of scared of a little bit too in that relationship. And then the way that I feel about my life and my career at this point is like, of course I could have handled a lot of situations better, but my path ultimately led me to living my best, healthiest life. And I think I could have done a lot of things differently, and I probably have a lot of regrets, but I don't focus on those too much. I learn from them in the moment, I learn from them right after, and I just try to, do better. I was not happy. I remember that. I actually do remember having a call with the PR team of my Bachelor season and saying, hey, and I couldn't tell them too much, right? Because I was also confused as why I was a virgin as well. I was having this internal struggle. But I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it did, because, it sort of gave me, this story now to share with the world of this is who I am, this is what I went through, and there are a lot of people like me out there. And I think that, hopefully when people watch this show, they see the human first before they see them just as, daters or reality stars or virgins. They are human beings trying their best to figure themselves out. Once again, another question of, regrets and how you would handle things and what ifs. I think this show would have been very attractive to me to give me permission to explore my sexuality too, as well. I think, what I loved about rewatching this show is you get to see how vulnerable these daters are with each other and what they're opening up about. And Rachel's a prime example of that. That is a different type of conversation to, talk through vaginismus on The Bachelor versus on Are You My First? And I think that's what's cool is the permission that this show gives that maybe some others don't, or there's a different audience, or the pressure that comes along with other shows. This one sort of takes that all away. I was extremely happy. I think that is the point of this show, right? Is can you commit by the end of this? This is a situation that I've been through. I know it works because when you don't have distractions and when all you have is time to focus and dedicate to being in a relationship, you can make it work and make it happen. And I was really proud of the final two couples of committing to each other, of saying, let's do this. I don't know how this is gonna go when we leave, this island, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. I keep in touch with a lot of the men, and I'm friendly and go back and forth, but I've checked in over the time. I think the stigma around virginity has much improved since my time on The Bachelor. I think this new generation is doing such an incredible job of taking the pressure of just sex in general, but also sexual identity much slower. The reason I'm so proud of them is I wish I wouldn't have mislabeled myself at an early age. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself by, my teenage years of saying I was straight, and I'm seeing now a lot of the younger generation saying I'm bi, or I don't know yet, or it's nonchalant and it's easy, and that is so cool to me to be able to watch, to see some of my friends who have kids who are, hanging out and dating a boy one week and then a girl the next, and that's what it's all about, is you have to explore, you have to figure yourself out, or else you're gonna, end up like me, 29, and trying to figure it out and being a little messy in life. And my hat really goes off to that generation. It was such a fun show to be a part of. The cast was incredible. I mean, obviously Alan Cumming is in a league of his own and a hosting pro. After hosting a show like this and then watching him and the work and the dedication he puts into it was really inspiring to me. I think you can look, and I can point at some of his interviews that he's done about the show to, reiterate that in my opinion, it's, there's some of the greatest moments in all of Traders that's about to, happen. So. From the ones that have done it before, no. I think, the beautiful thing about that show, and I think also what people might underestimate about a lot of the Bachelor talent is they think we don't really come from a competition-based show, when in reality, we all are put in this position because we're able to, play somewhat of a social game. You sort of have to have that ability to connect with multiple people, and that's what that show is. But I definitely will say I watched Peter's season. I obviously watched Gabby and Will's season. I watched Ari's season, and I took notes of how all of them played. It's the best. I think being a dad is the best title that I have right now. Of course, being a host and being on all these fun, cool shows is great, but I was born to be a dad. I think that's, that is something that I can say really sort of kept me in the closet, is I didn't know it was possible, to be a gay dad. And now, obviously, I know it's more than possible, and there's an incredible community of same-sex parents out there. So being a dad is my greatest honor. He makes me, a better man, a better husband, and it's the love of my life. We do, yeah. So we definitely have plans for a big family. Right now, I'm really enjoying watching Jordan be a dad. I think it's just so sexy to watch him, raise our child, and to, cook, and just the love and effort he puts into being a good father is the most attractive thing that he's ever done. Oh man, yes, because I was living in Denver in the time, and I just remember having this feeling of I want to move closer. Why can't I just be with him? And it happened very quick. When you know. It's just one of those things. I did a lot of self-work that year, and then it sort of all happened when it needed to.